The big issue is right here. Waiting on parts, no reverse. The moment I drove off, about 5 minutes later, the check engine light came on, and then about 15 minutes later, the low coolant light came on, because every month, $14,570.27 is deducted from my bank account for the lease payment on this Bugatti Veyron. It's just stupid. No tire should cost $50,000, $60,000. It's just dumb.
Does that make you technically the poorest Bugatti owner on the planet?
Yes.
Tyler Hoover was driving a Bugatti Veyron with less than $1,000 in his bank account. He said it himself, by the way. This is not something that got spun into a better story over time.
$1.5 million new, and I never thought I could afford one.
The man was genuinely actually broke while sitting behind the wheel of one of the most expensive cars ever built, and nobody watching his videos had any clue because from the outside, everything looked completely fine. The Bugatti was on camera, the channel was growing, and it seemed like Hoovie had finally arrived after years of buying every wrong car imaginable. But here's the thing about Hoovie. His whole channel was never really about cars. It was about what happens when someone buys the car they absolutely should not buy, and then takes you along for everything that follows. The broken exotics, the flooded luxury cars, the endless disasters that kept his mechanic, the car wizard, basically employed full time. That honesty is what built the audience. So when he bought a Bugatti Veyron, most people assumed it was just that same formula scaled up to $1 million. What they did not know was that a $500,000 tax bill was already waiting. The car had problems before he even took delivery.
I'm still pinching myself, and the dealer who sold it to me spent almost $50,000 sorting the car all out before I took delivery. Very atypical for me.
And the monthly payment he had committed to only worked if absolutely nothing went wrong.
Buying used modules didn't work, and Bentley was the only person that could program them. So they charged $2,000 for the same part with 30 seconds of programming because Bentley tax. And the Bugatti tax is way, way worse.
But unfortunately, everything went wrong. But how? This is the story of how a Bugatti Veyron almost took down Hoovie's garage. Look, the appeal made total sense. A Veyron is not just expensive in the normal exotic car way. It is expensive in a way that makes other expensive cars feel embarrassed about themselves. When it was new, it cost $1 million, and even used it still exists in this terrifying category where a single repair bill can genuinely ruin your month, your quarter, or possibly your entire year depending on what broke. Which is exactly why it was such perfect content for a channel like Hoovie's. If the car worked, great. He gets to live the dream on camera. If it fell apart, even better, because that is honestly what everyone came to watch anyway. The problem is that the horror stories you hear about Veyron ownership are not internet exaggerations. They are completely real and somehow even worse up close. An oil change on this car costs somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000. Not because the oil is magic, but because the car has 16 drain plugs and you have to remove half the rear bodywork just to get to them. The whole process takes around 27 hours of labor for an oil change. And that is just where it starts getting weird. Camshaft adjusters cost about $800 each as a part, which sounds almost reasonable until you find out that replacing them requires a partial engine teardown, and the labor alone runs around $21,000. Tires need replacing every couple of years and cost $30,000 to $40,000 a set. The wheels themselves wear out every 10,000 miles and run another $40,000 to $50,000. Annual fluid services land somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000, and that is all before anything actually goes wrong. So when Hoovie bought this car, the real question was never whether he could afford the monthly payment. It was whether he could survive everything the car was going to ask for after that. So here's where the story gets interesting. Hoovie did not just walk in and buy this car outright. He structured it as a lease with a monthly payment of around $14,570.
Every month that has gone by, because every month $14,570.27 is deducted from my bank account for the lease payment on this Bugatti Veyron.
And at the time, he actually thought this was the smart move. The idea was to run it through the business, write off what he could, and potentially sell it later at a profit because Veyron values had been creeping up. He even said at one point that the car had basically paid for itself in the first 6 months and that he was out zero money.
I did a sign and drive lease, and the car has completely paid for itself for the last 6 months. I am out zero money for anything, but that is all about to change.
And honestly, that logic is not completely crazy. It just requires everything to go right at the same time, which is a lot to ask from a Bugatti. Because what came out later is that this whole deal was not sitting on top of a stable financial foundation. It was sitting on top of a business and personal life that were already being stretched pretty thin.
They told me that within a couple of weeks you'd have to do an adjustment, which I did. And they said a year later you need to adjust the linkages again because they're cables and they stretch naturally.
And then his accountant called and told him he owed over $500,000 in taxes. And apparently the way he had structured the Bugatti deal was directly connected to how that number got so big. So now you have a $14,500 monthly payment, a $500,000 tax bill, and a car that had already started showing warning lights before he even got it home. And somewhere in the middle of all that, he was driving $1 million Bugatti with less than $1,000 actually sitting in his bank account. That is the part that made people stop and reread the headline, because it was not just risky anymore. The Bugatti had gone from being a content play to being the most expensive symptom of a much bigger problem.
It's just stupid. No tires should cost $50,000, $60,000. It's just dumb. Michelin makes them, it's rubber, it's the same rubber as everybody else. It's just obscene and dumb.
It did not create every fire that was burning, but it was absolutely the largest thing sitting in the middle of the room while everything else was going up in flames. The reason this particular Veyron was even attainable in the first place was because it had a known problem. It would not go into reverse.
The big issue is right here. Waiting on parts, no reverse.
Simple enough sounding on the surface, except by the time Hoovie got to it, the car had already been through a messy diagnostic history that did not inspire a lot of confidence. At some point, someone had replaced the entire transmission, which sounds like a thorough fix until you find out the transmission was never actually the problem. The real issue was the electronic shifter controlling it.
Because it would not go in reverse, and that was thanks to this electronic shifter that was all apart. And now it is back together. Getting that handle off took some doing.
So the previous repair was expensive, incorrect, and now Hoovie owned the aftermath of that whole situation. That alone is a red flag on any car. On a Bugatti, it is a genuinely unsettling way to start. And it did not stop there. During the early inspection phase, warning lights started showing up, including coolant-related alerts that could mean anything from a minor sensor issue to the beginning of something far more serious. With a normal car, you might not lose much sleep over a warning light. With a Veyron, every warning light is a potential four-figure diagnostic bill before anyone even tells you what is actually wrong. Speaking of which, the dealer wanted $4,500 just to inspect it. Not to fix anything, just to look at it properly. And that cost makes complete sense once you understand that a proper Veyron inspection means pulling off large sections of the rear bodywork and underbody just to access the key components underneath.
Now the reason for that crazy price is because they have to take the car apart to really inspect everything. All the underbody panels, all the back panels, the bonnet. You can't just pop the hood on a Veyron.
What should be a routine check becomes a partial teardown before anyone has even identified a single problem. And when they did open it up, the car was leaking oil, coolant, and transmission fluid all at the same time. Not one issue. 3 separate systems, all showing problems simultaneously. On a normal car, that is a painful repair episode. On a Bugatti, that is the kind of discovery that makes everyone in the room go very quiet. What made it so difficult to shake was that this was not one dramatic failure you could address and move on from. It was a pattern. The car had been misdiagnosed before he bought it. It was throwing warnings almost immediately, and then revealed multiple leaks the moment someone looked at it properly. That is the kind of history that makes you wonder what else might still be hiding. And on a car where every question costs thousands of dollars just to answer, that uncertainty becomes its own kind of expensive. So the first proper service visit came back at $37,825, and separately, the quote for a fresh set of factory tires was $60,000. Just the tires. Not because the dealer was being creative with the pricing, but because Bugatti uses highly specialized Michelin tires that are speed rated for over 250 miles per hour, require specific mounting procedures, and need replacing on a schedule regardless of how much tread is actually left on them. The car does not care whether you have been driving it gently. The calendar says replace them, so you replace them. And all of this was landing on a guy who was already paying $14,500 a month just to have the car sitting in his driveway.
Definitely know every month that has gone by, because every month $14,570.27 is deducted from my bank account,
while a $500,000 tax bill was still very much unresolved in the background.
And then there is the taxes on top of that. Every month I'm paying over $1,000 in sales tax per month with the lease with the Bugatti.
What made people actually stop and feel something watching this story unfold was that it was not abstract. This was not form math or hypothetical worst-case scenarios. These were real invoices on a car he had barely gotten to enjoy, arriving at the worst possible time during a period where money was already being pulled in about 5 different directions at once. And that is really why the whole world's poorest Bugatti owner thing stuck so hard.
Does that make you technically the poorest Bugatti owner on the planet?
Yes. I made that joke all the time. I was the world's poorest Bugatti owner, the world's poorest 300SL Gullwing owner.
Because it perfectly described the situation. One of the most iconic cars ever built. An absolute legend of automotive engineering. And the person who owned it was genuinely stretched thin while it sat there costing money by simply existing. That gap between what the car represented and what was actually happening behind the scenes is what turned this from a YouTube drama into a story people kept bringing up for months. So when you ask how a Bugatti almost bankrupted Hoovie's garage, the answer is not that one repair bill showed up and wiped everything out overnight. It is actually a much simpler story than that. The Veyron was a massive monthly commitment that came with enormous downside risk. And it landed right in the middle of a period where everything else was already demanding money at the same time. The tax bill, the repairs, the general cost of running a life and a business, all of it was happening at once, and the Bugatti was just the biggest and loudest part of that pile. When Hoovie started talking about it more openly, he was pretty clear that this whole period forced him to rethink how he was operating. And the most interesting part of what he said was not really about the car at all. It was about the mindset that got him there. YouTube as a platform rewards escalation. Every video has to be bigger than the last one, every purchase has to top the previous one, and if you follow that logic long enough, without stopping to check whether the finances actually support it, you eventually end up exactly where he ended up. The Bugatti was not just a bad car purchase. It was the natural destination of a content strategy that kept pushing him further than was actually sustainable. By July 2025, after just 9 months, Hoovie sold the Veyron. And the reason he gave for walking away is honestly the most interesting part of this whole story.
It makes zero sense on a YouTuber's income to have a hypercar like this, yet so many are doing it and spending way more than they make to keep up with all the other YouTubers doing it and people with outside income coming into YouTube and flexing over us.
Because it had nothing to do with repair costs. He said that supercars and hypercars on YouTube had become completely played out. That every day someone was flexing one and nobody really cared anymore. And when he went back to filming cheap broken cars, the kind of hoopties his channel was originally built on, his views went up. That completely pulls the rug out from under the whole logic of buying the Bugatti in the first place. The car was supposed to justify itself through the content it generated. It was supposed to be the ultimate attention machine. Instead, it cost more, stressed more, and performed worse on YouTube than a car worth a fraction of the price. He even called it one of the dumbest purchases he had ever made, which is a pretty significant thing to admit for a guy whose entire career has been built around dumb purchases. The Veyron was meant to be the grand arrival. What it actually turned out to be was proof that the flex formula had already stopped working by the time he committed to it. And here's the part that adds a genuinely cruel twist to the whole thing. In the same month that Hoovie was offloading his Veyron and processing what a difficult 9 months it had been, a 2007 Bugatti Veyron sold at the Goodwood Festival of Speed Auction for over £1.5 million, smashing its estimate completely. The broader market was still treating these cars like the legends they are. They were still breaking records, they were still highly desired, the car was never the problem, it just was not the right car for him at that time in that situation. And that gap between what a Veyron represents to the world and what it actually costs to live with on a daily basis is exactly what turned this from a flex into a cautionary tale. The internet reacted exactly how you would expect. People were losing their minds over the bank account detail. Reddit had already decided the whole thing was basically a Car Wizard stimulus package. And someone in a comment section pointed out the absurdity of Bugatti owners bragging that their car went 1,000 miles without braking, which when you think about it is a pretty low bar for $1 million car. But what is interesting is that the tone around the story has shifted since then. When it was all happening, it felt like another classic Hoovie adventure, just with more zeros attached. Looking back at it now, it reads more like a confession. People are not just laughing at a bad purchase. They are watching someone reckon with what happens when the pressure to keep escalating on YouTube quietly takes over the whole operation. The good news is that Hoovie seems to have genuinely taken stock of all of it. By early 2026, he was talking about slowing down, simplifying things, and getting back to a version of the channel that did not require everything to be on fire all the time, which honestly sounds like the right call.
No finished cars, so I guess no bills, right?
No bills yet. You can leave without any kind of stress or anything.
That's nice. And the dam has burst. I have sold my first car of the 2025.
Because his audience was never really there for the hypercars. They were there for the chaos, the personality, the weird broken cars with interesting stories. The Bugatti proved that pretty conclusively. The most expensive car he ever bought got outperformed on YouTube by cheap hoopties. And that is either a brutal lesson or a very useful one, depending on how you look at it. The Veyron was supposed to be the moment everything looked bigger. It ended up being the moment Hoovie figured out that bigger was never actually the point.